Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of Sunday Night Live, your favorite automotive show where we talk about the issues, whether it's the front of the store, the back of the store, the middle, upstairs or downstairs, doesn't really matter because the better we all get, the better the customer experience. And if the customer experience is good at my store, when they go into Paul's store or Ty's store, they expect that same experience. And whether or not you think it, I want you to remember something. Everybody is always watching, always. They may not comment, they may not interact, but they are watching. And I'll give you a quick one on that. We just discovered today that we have a fan in Argentina who, according to Facebook, is an anniversary fan, meaning that they've been watching our show well over a year. Never once has this person commented on anything we've done. Never once has this person liked or interacted. However, for at least a year, this person has been tuning into our show every week. So welcome to the show. We've got Paul Machin with Black Book and Thompson with Cars on the Move. Guys, why don't you introduce yourselves and then we'll jump right into it.
Go ahead, Paul.
Machin. Thanks, Ty. I'm Paul Machin with Black Book. I'm Director of Strategic Accounts for both international and U.S. markets.
I'm Ty, Transport Guy, Cars on the Move. ATI, the car shipping business channel, is where you'll find me every Friday in a transport parking lot, usually teaching people about auctions, dealers, and car carriers. That's what I talk about pretty much from the time I wake up until the time I go to bed.
I love the ATI show because I've learned so much about the transport business from it.
It's pretty amazing business for sure. And it's funny how this one little group, if you will, community, transport people, touches everything that you guys talk about all the time. So thanks for having me, by the way, Paul Meijer. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. And Paul Machin, you define data. You know, we look at things, but we don't always understand the data behind it. And you put out these regular vlogs where you talk specifically about the data that drives for a lot of companies what they do, because unless you know where you've been, it's hard to predict where you're going.
That's right. I have found that there's been a disconnect in the data industry. You know, they say, look at all my data. Look at the data. I got data. Okay, how's it applicable? How does it really apply? And how should I take what you're showing me and develop an action plan behind it? And that's where I come in. I get to work with my data science team, and then I engage with my SaaS partners and other DaaS partners and dealer groups and show them how they should be utilizing the data.
I want to get to a couple of comments, and then do you want to pull your presentation up?
Sure.
All right, we got Ed Chipolowski. Hello, everyone. Hi, Ed. How are you, man? Vernon Swords. I got your email earlier today. Been putting in a lot of long days, but I should have some time tomorrow to reach out to you. Dan Kelly. How are you, my friend? And Mike Vogel from the West Coast. Good evening, gentlemen. Oh, Dan Kelly says, good evening, all. Mike Vogel, good evening, gentlemen. And you too, Paul, my fixed ops partner. And LinkedIn users, got to be Lamont. Hello, everyone. Looking forward to a great show. And Vernon Sword says, hey, guys, Michael Weldon from the West Coast. Good evening, everyone. Here to learn. We are all here to learn. I'm here to learn a bunch of stuff myself. And Coach Joe Clementi. Hello, gentlemen, from sunny Northern California. All right, so what we're going to do is Paul's going to talk about kind of where we are, and then we'll talk about some revealing things here. Let me add this to the screen.
Can you see the screen, by the way?
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. All right, so this is my weekly vlog, my bi-weekly vlog that I've been putting out. This week was a little bit behind because the information that was coming out. I like to do information that I can take other data points and integrate them into our data points to show a whole story, to build a whole case around it. So the slide we're looking at right now is, our first half review for 2022. How well did we do as an industry on the new car side, which ultimately impacts what we do on the pre-owned side of the business. And as you can see here, this is from Trading Economics. The gray bars represent the new vehicle sales in 2021, and the blue represents, or purple represents, the sales so far this year. And what's discouraging, as you can see, is that we've not come close to touching any month in the first 6 months what we did last year. And we already know what last year was. Last year was not a banner year for us. It was our second lowest year we've had on record. And right now, June the 30th, I put a prediction out, and I said that I believe the SAR rate is going to be sub 13.3 million units for the year, which is the annualized sales rate based on June sales. And I was able to come up with that after talking to about a dozen or so dealer groups and dealerships to find out what they were doing. And they were selling. They were not. Let me preface this. We don't have an inventory problem as far as too much inventory. We don't have enough. So they're selling out of their new car inventory, and we still have a sub 13.3 million SAR rate. So when you really think about that, the transition that dealers need to make really needs to be hardcore service department, used vehicle department, and really refining their F&I process to survive in the coming years. I'm not talking months, years. And now we have OEs. We got factories like Ford and GM and Chrysler thinking about reducing their dealer body count and doing more direct sales to the John Q public, and basically making franchise dealers a delivery service operation and service operation, less of a actual sales. And that remains to be seen, the final arrangement, because the dealer body, of course, will fight back. And I think you'll see a hybrid solution where it's brick and mortar as well as online orders, kind of like what Walmart and Amazon's doing right now. Make sense?
Yeah.
So we know that demand is still outpacing our supply, and the lack of inventory is caused largely by supply chain disruptions. And it started with microchips, but then it's progressed into raw materials that's required to make some of the components, like some of the steel body panels. We're missing. We don't have enough magnesium to be able to fulfill the demands to make the inventory we need, just on the supply chain. Ty, you and I were just talking about not having enough haulers to get the vehicles that are ready to be delivered out to the dealers who need them, right? So that's the biggest factor, is our supply chain disruptions. But here's a challenge that's coming. And you look at our sales that we have here. We have been a beneficiary of a low interest rate, easy credit environment for several years now. In fact, I have many of my buddies in the dealership world. Their number one complaint, Paul and Ty, is they don't believe that they've got a staff that's ready to transition into a seller's market. They've basically been order takers and submitting deals to a bank to get approved. It's done. Put my stamp. Done. Oh, you want to let them borrow this much money? Done. Right.
Yeah, what's the advance now? What's the advance gonna be?
Right. So, and that'll start dropping as the Federal Reserve, the largest hike we've had in almost 3 decades was last month, 0.75%. They're anticipating to do that again this month because inflation is just not slowing down. It's still rampant. They want to try to get control of that. So I think as dealers, I think one of the things they need to really look at is really invest in some training just on their F&I people, because they've got a whole new set of F&I managers that have been raised in the last 3 to 4 years thinking that this is how the business should be. And it's not, right? It requires some sales skills and some opportunities to be able to polish up on closing. No longer are customers going to be coming and say, I'll take it. They're actually going to be looking at ways to offset their expenses. And some of the challenges behind that is what the market is doing in overall. And I'll go into that in a bit. Some of the key tipping point I think we all need to pay attention to. I've been talking about the perfect storm coming, and we're starting to see it now. The ability for the government to kick this can down the road is gone. I mean, it's completely gone. Repos, they're on the rise. So
2 million. Or I think it's over 2 million year to date repos.
Right. So that's a number I heard, and I'm not sure. I have not been able to find one single source that can actually confirm that. I do hear, man, I mean, my yards are getting full again. My repo guys are busy. I mean, Ty, what are you hearing?
Sorry about that. I had it on mute. Exactly what you're saying. It's
Right.
yeah. Hang on.
Yeah, I mean,
We're seeing companies purchasing large plots of land to accommodate all the cars. One guy was watching his video, football fields after football field size of yards, just to be able to hold all these vehicles.
Right. So I was talking to several people. Slide changed on me too fast. I was talking to several of my people in the repo industry. I was asking, what do they see? They're seeing that most of the repos they're doing now are 2020s and 2021 models. On the 2020, the average loan to value is 120% of market value right now on a 2020. On 21s, you know what happened last year with loan values and price values on those. I mean, they were just sky high. I talked to a couple of analysts at different places. Some of the credit bureau providers were saying that 12 to 13% of all new car buyers within the last 2 years, they have a payment of $1,000 or more a month.
That's crazy.
That's a mortgage payment for most people. You know, and what they used were tax refunds, the stimulus money. They also took advantage of not making their payments on their rents, on their mortgages, getting forbearance plans in place and credit forbearance plans, because if you are in a plan, it wasn't being reported to the credit reporting agency. So as far as the rest of the credit lending world was concerned, you had great credit, but you hadn't made a payment in 6 months, and you bought a car.
And
right?
That's all ended.
Right.
So that, I think that's fueling a lot of the repos today, because now all of a sudden these people are like, well, you actually have to pay your bills now. So that doesn't leave you with enough money to pay for the car that you couldn't afford to begin with. But for them, they didn't care, because the banks were willing to front them the money. And if they lose the car, they don't really care.
That's right. That's right. You know, as you know, it takes 4 to 6 months to properly move a customer who's delinquent to ultimately to a repossession, and then that vehicle shows up at the auction. We're in that 6 month frame right now. If all of these people, when the plans expired and their stimulus checks quit running in November, December, this is the month that we should start seeing that explosion. And if it is indeed 2 million year to date repos right now,
it's huge.
That's a normal year. And we're only 6 months into this year.
Yeah.
I just can't confirm that yet. Haven't been able to verify it. So I did some research, and I found Barron's Financial. They did an article on July 8th. Car repos are exploding, and that's a bad omen. They also interviewed some dealers, and their dealers told them the same thing that I just shared with you. 2020s and 21s are high. What I didn't know that I heard from them was they said that we would think that it would impact mostly subprime borrowers, but it's not. Yes, subprime borrowers are defaulting, and they doubled 11% since 2020. But repos on prime borrowers also doubled. And a prime borrower is a person with solid credit. That
You
doubled.
wouldn't expect that.
Right. It doubled to 4%. So, which is very telling to understand how people were trying to take advantage of all this money and all these programs that gave them an advantage in 2020, 2021 that they no longer have now, and they didn't plan for it. But that's a good opportunity for us, and I'll explain what I mean by that. So when you add that on top of a 1.6 GDP growth rate, which is the third adjustment for Q1, right now Q2 looks like it's going to be right at 2, maybe a little less. I'm hearing 1.5 to 2 points for Q2. A 9.1% inflation rate, which is the highest we've seen in 41 years. And then, as I said, the Fed's going to have another rate hike. They have to. They want to bring the inflation rate down. Gas prices are still $2 or more per gallon than they were 2 years ago. We have escalating food service prices and services. I went to the grocery store this afternoon to get stuff to grill out with. When I came back, I'm like, what did I spend $100 for? I had 3 bags. I mean, and they were small. I put everything up in 5 minutes. It was like I remember spending $100 a couple of years ago, and I at least had a half a cart of groceries.
Right.
Right. I mean, it's getting challenging out there in the marketplace, and what they're not communicating is how challenging it is. So I came across a stat. Families that make $75,000 or less a year are definitely on the struggle. People who are now families making $100,000 are living paycheck to paycheck today, whereas before they had a buffer. Families that are now at $250,000 a year, they're actually feeling the pinch of the cost of inflation. So it's not just in the lower income areas; it's across the full spectrum of income earners and buyers are right there. So here's where the good news is. The retail side, non-auto retail side of the business is booming. And it's booming because of slasher sales. They have too much discretionary goods in stock. So they've got major discounts, which is great for you, me, and anyone else that's looking to take advantage of, buying furniture or patio equipment, upgrading their bathrooms, things like that. Those discretionary goods are on sale. Prime Day was last week.
Yeah,
July
I bought a
12th
bunch of
13th.
stuff on Prime Day.
Yeah, you probably did, especially for your business, right?
Yeah.
Took advantage of all those
Exactly
sales.
right.
Well, you know who else did the same thing to compete against Amazon Prime Day? Walmart, Target, Amazon, Kohl's, Macy's, Best Buy. I mean, if they've got a retail name, they did it to compete. And some of them extended their Prime Days beyond the 13th. They went to 14th or 15th. Those sales, those results are not in from those businesses. But Amazon did almost $12 billion in retail sales in 2 days.
Wow.
I mean, that's a pretty strong, robust number that tells you that there's a section of the population of the economy that is still robust, is still strong, and still wants to spend money on discretionary goods. That's a good sign for us because for the most part, the automotive industry is a discretionary good. Once you get past the basic need of a basic car, the next vehicle you buy is discretionary. You really don't need a second one if you can get by with one. So that I call that a good sign. If you remember a couple of weeks back, I said pay attention to the power sports RV, medium duty and heavy duty truck market to get an idea of what the rest of the automotive market will look like. We just released a report last week about the automotive power sports market, medium duty RVs, through the roof still. They're still going strong. So again, there's a large segment of the population that did a lot of prep work to get ready for this. However, there's an opportunity and a challenge that's coming for us. As I described, many of the dealers that I've talked to have concerns that a lot of their staff is 3 to 4 years of age in the business. And they believe the easy process of selling and delivering cars and caring for a customer it has to be that way now. It won't. It's changing. That's a seller's market that we're leaving. We're moving into a buyer's market, not because of our challenge of not having enough inventory. It's because how you and I and Ty and everyone else that's listening to us now, how we operate every day. It impacts the way we think. Well, I got discounts and I got great deals everywhere else I'm going. Why can't I consider buying a car at a discount today? Now, that doesn't mean the car needs to be discounted. What it means is I need to be sold. I need to be built the value. I need to understand why I need to pay the price I need to pay. You just can't tell me, well, that's just the price.
Well, a lot of people have put off purchases also, just because of the pricing being as crazy as it was. I met a guy yesterday who was in the trucking business, and he said they're seeing the same or worse than we're seeing in automotive as far as availability, as far as the price gouging. He was telling me at their company, they're not gouging the prices because they're thinking long term. But there's a lot of companies.
Strategy.
A lot of companies that don't.
Right.
A couple of comments I want to get to. Vernon Swords, that would be a war between manufacturers and dealers. He's referring to the electric thing you were speaking of earlier. Yeah, I think that's some very expensive litigation that's pending And look, let's face it, the OEMs have not historically done well with, doing this on their own, and dealers oftentimes had to bail them out. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Mike Fisher says, great to be here. Mike, good to see you, man. Rakesh Patel, hello, everyone. Hello, Rakesh. And Lamont says, what advice do you have for automotive service departments? Well, that's really a pretty basic one. The advice that I would have for any service department is focus on it, for one, right? Everybody talks about they're focusing on it, but there's still a lot of room for improvement. You have to treat every customer, no matter how little or how big the job is, like they're spending $1 million in your store. You have to create an experience that just blows them away. As a matter of fact,
that's right.
I want to share something here. Let me just find this email. I mean, this was very, very powerful. And it doesn't matter what the business is, because regardless of the product, what you're dealing with is the customer. Okay? Doesn't matter what the product is. How you make that customer feel determines where they go in relation to what you do. Okay, all right. So we're in a few different businesses. One of them, we're in automotive. We're in small business marketing and promotions, things like that. We're also in the yarn business. We're opening up a retail store. But this is the letter that my wife got, and this really blew me away. So this is about the customer experience, okay? So the lady writes a letter. Hello, Paulette, email. Hello, Paulette. While I followed you online and on Facebook, I wanted to reach out and formally introduce myself. My name is, I'm going to leave that out. I'm the owner of, leave the name out, Knitting Patterns and Instruction. Based on your Facebook post, it looks like your brick and mortar yarn store is almost up and running. So a huge congratulations to you. A while back, I met you in Groton, Connecticut. I believe that was about 2019. All right, so we're looking at 3 years ago. We met this lady at an event, and thought your yarn bus was the coolest thing. At the time, my company was not yet a full business, but you probably don't realize that you played a part in the inspiration to launch. You were so open, kind, and thoughtful and welcoming to both my mother-in-law and me when we met, that it left a lasting impression. It took many years and industry experience working for another designer before opening my company, but when I did, I remembered your joy in the craft and how that also made me feel. I knew I wanted to pass forward what I call the knitting feeling and bring that joy to others. Long story short, my company is now in its 3rd year as a knitwear design and instruction business, and you helped play a role in that, so thank you. Mm-hmm. The foundation of my company is support, especially to local stores. We wouldn't do what we do without you. So as you are opening your shop, if there's anything I can do, whether it's an exclusive store design, classes, workshops, patterns, discounts, or anything really, I'd love to. We live in DC now, but that's an easy drive for a great yarn store. Thank you, Paulette, and congrats again. I look forward to hearing from you. I can't wait to see your shop. DC is a 5-hour drive. An impression that this person got 3 years ago so inspired her to go out and create something for herself. And 3 years later, she comes back to us. We meet thousands of people over the years, as you do at the dealership, thousands of people. What experience are you making for them to inspire them to not only want to come back to you for everything that you do service related, but to bring their friends, their mother-in-law, their people they work with? Mm-hmm. What are you doing to inspire that? This email that we got the other day blew me away. But
It's a good
more
feeling.
different than what any of you out there can do in your particular arena. So Lamont, to answer your question, that's what service departments can do. Not all companies work the same way. I went in today for a milkshake. I walked in. Nobody acknowledged me. I'm standing there like a yutz waiting for help. Nobody. Another lady walks in behind me, walks up. They help her. She's out the door. I'm about to blow a gasket. I said, what do I need to do to get some help around here? This is 2022, right? The manager comes out. She apologizes. And then she says, oh, I'm going to give you a discount. A discount? You got to be kidding me. I'm expecting it for free at this point, because you pissed me off, which she ended up doing. So Lamont, what can we do in the service departments? We can make sure that every customer that comes in gets greeted promptly.
Mm-hmm.
If they're within 5 to 10 feet from you, 15 feet, look them in the eyes, smile, greet them with a smile, say hi. I'll be with you in a second. If you're on the phone, don't just look away and talk on the phone. Acknowledge them with your eyes, nod your head, let them know you'll be with them momentarily. That's what you can do. Oh, oops. My wife's tuning in. I didn't tell her I went for the milkshake. Busted. You had a milkshake today, she says.
You didn't tell her about the milkshake, huh?
No, she's busy working. I don't want to bother her with the milkshake thing.
Right.
All right. Mark Grodeke. Hey, another ATI guy. Says, hi, guys. Am I on the right channel? Good to see Paul and Ty here tonight. Yes, you're on the right channel, my friend. Mike Fisher says, Paul M is hitting the mark, and we've seen this before. We put people in mortgages for car loans and payments. While stimulus payments are dwindling, we're going back to normal. And Lamont says, absolutely, Paul, make the customer the priority and reap the benefits. And this is where I got snagged by my wife. She says, you had a milkshake today? Oh, man. Mike Vogel, you have to create what I call the wow factor with customers. The goal should be creating customer advocates for you and your business. Oh, man. You know something? Let me see if this is in here. And it talks right about the wow factor. Okay, here we go. It's a short video. I think that's what you're talking about, Mike.
Yeah.
Ed Chipolowski says, Paul Machine, do you have percentages of EVs versus ICE sales? Any projections for the EV market? Medium truck EV commercial market is beginning to bloom. It's funny, we're talking about that. So yeah, let's dig into that one.
So I do have those stats, but I'll have to share that with you in an email to share with them because I don't want to just go off the top of my head. I want to be able to give you the exact numbers on that. So but the EV market is growing, and then obviously Tesla is the number one. Tesla is the number one EV provider in the space today, but they have a head start. We'll see what happens when all the other OEs are finally up to speed with producing their electric vehicles to be on par with Tesla. And so I'll definitely send that to you. So what I wanted to share is our wholesale weekly prices, right? It's the purple line is how we finished in 2019, and the green down here is where we are now. And as you can see, we're above the baseline, which is that red straight horizontal line right there. Which means that our wholesale prices are as high as they were last year, mainly because we're still seeing a shortage of high quality pre-owned vehicles. And we already know that for 2 years in a row, we haven't produced enough used vehicles we haven't produced enough out of the used vehicle factory to meet the needs for the next 2 to 3 years. So where do we find that inventory? Well, right now there's over 300 million plus units that are owned by people sitting in people's driveways. So I think that SaaS partners and marketing companies need to be seriously converting some of their programs and their energy to help dealers migrate to the for sale by owner, or if even if they're not interested, to buy that car. Give you an example. One of the largest car rental companies, I can't say the name, started a project to buy directly from customers so they can buy 2020 and 21 year model vehicles, put into their fleets for rentals.
And they're doing it.
Yeah, 8,000. Right now they're averaging close to 8 to 10,000 units a month. And they just started.
Insane.
Right? I mean, it just blows you away when you think about that. 8 to 10,000 units a month.
How long, Paul? Hold on a second. How long have they, when did they start this program?
Like 4 months ago.
All right.
Right.
This is key.
Right.
About 4 months ago, right? Mm-hmm. We've been complaining about inventory shortages for what?
2.5 years.
2.5 solid years.
Right.
We've been in the business for 100 years. 100 years we've been in this business. And 2.5 years solid, we're complaining. Here comes a company that's not in business as long as we've been in business.
Right.
And in 4 months, they're buying how many cars?
8 to 10,000 a month.
Wow.
So they're no longer, so that's 8 to 10,000 units. That the auction is still a viable source, right? You still need the auctions to get all the other vehicles, but those are 8 to 10,000 units that they don't have any competition on bidding on.
Right.
Right. And that's the message that we've been delivering. Now, here's the shocker. 6 months ago, CarMax put out their nationwide online instant appraisal offerings. Do you want to guess how many vehicles they purchased directly in the last 6 months from John Q. Public?
I don't know the number, but I know they're killing it.
350 some odd thousand of them, right? I mean, that's an astounding number. In Q1, it was like 130 some odd thousand they bought in Q1, so it was a tremendous spike in Q2. 17,000 of those units in Q1 were vehicles that the dealer didn't want to keep. But so CarMax took those vehicles and sold them for profit. So what was different about their ability to acquire that year, make, model, mileage car and still turn around and sell it, that the dealer who actually did the business to get that vehicle didn't want to keep it? They had data. They had all the data they could use about every single store operations from front end to the back end. That's if you think about it, talk about service. Every pre-owned vehicle you acquire needs to go through service. So right. when you develop a robust alternative acquisition service, you are actually improving your service department. Your internal.
Did you hear that?
Roof, right?
That speaks directly 100%. To what can service departments do. Work with the rest of the store to develop this strategy.
Right. And don't, when I was going through my part of my training, and I had to go through the used car management position, and I'll never forget, I was being told by the guy who's my mentor as a used car manager, his name was Daryl. Daryl said, man, you got to stay on top of your service because they'll put your cars last. You're their best customer, but they put your cars last. I was like,
that's crazy.
Yeah. And I'm hearing that's a practice still done today.
Now, I want to go back to the CarMax thing for a second, though. Mm-hmm. I think that part of their success, aside from the fact that they're aggressively going after that car, right? Mm-hmm. But I think a part of their success is just their vast dealer network, okay? They've got an infrastructure in place where they are able to look at the entire inventory of available cars.
Right.
And they are able to place those cars in the right markets. And I don't think, John Q. dealer that's got 5 or 10 stores within a 2-3 state area, maybe. I don't think they have that same kind of power. If I know, for instance, that the car that I'm taking in is a dog here in Connecticut, but for some reason, people in San Antonio love this car. Mm-hmm. And they've got the infrastructure to transfer these cars between their stores, that car might be $2,000, $3,000 more in another market than my market. I can't afford to buy that.
However, if you had the ability to tap into local market intelligence nationwide, and and John Q. Dealer needs to stop thinking in the used car vertical, not so much for new cars.
Yeah.
A lot of dealers, franchise dealers, are not trying to sell outside of their market for their new car inventory. It's their used cars.
Right.
So if you've got that used vehicle you just described, and you have the ability to check out the entire country and target that one area that particular vehicle that you just traded for or going to buy would sell well, your backyard just expanded to the whole country if you are marketing yourself properly.
But here's the but.
Mm-hmm.
It's been my experience over a fair number of years that most stores, smaller groups or single stores or double stores, they don't look that far out.
True.
They're not looking here. They're looking here. So they're missing that opportunity. And let's face it, that's profit, man. That's profit.
And the cost of entry is nominal compared to not entering into that market. The difference is you either, in the next 5 years, you still have a franchise store or you don't. Or if you go back to 2008, we entered that recession in 2008. It was sub 20,000 franchise dealers nationwide, and we finished with 16,000. Now we're back up to 16,600. How many new car franchise dealers do you think will lose this go round? And those are dealers who didn't adapt and prepare for the change we have now. I could think of 5 large dealer groups that are going out and making acquisitions, buying those 5 and 10 store dealer groups, and they know what's happening with it. They know they can take that business and take it to the next level because they're not afraid to invest the money that's required to build that infrastructure and knowledge. The knowledge database is the first part. You got to have that data to make the right decision and be able to make an action plan on it.
And you hear a lot of, you hear about data, right?
Yeah.
And you hear some people, they kind of downplay the data. It's not, you can't just look at data and sell stuff. Well, no, actually, it's part of the strategy. Without, would you go on a long trip without putting enough gas in the car? No, you wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't. I mean, I'm making recommendations now on training because I know a few guys specialize from F&I training to sales training, fixed ops training, because I firmly believe that to really excel in the coming market that's coming, this is a different type of a recession we're entering into. This is artificially created, and we're entering into this recession with 3 debt. What's the best word? With 3 credit categories that are the highest they've ever been. We have the highest mortgage rate in the trillions, higher than when it was in 2008. We have an auto debt market that is equal to the 2008 home debt level in 2008, and a credit card market same, and a college student loan debt that's same kind, trillions of dollars in those 4 categories. When that hits, it's a massive tidal wave. So there's going to be a section of people who will need extra service. Then there's going to be a section of people who want that special attention because they have really done well to stick through. Sorry about that. I don't know why my slides just popped on their own. I wasn't even touching my computer. And that's going to require training, and that's what your audience is asking, saying, Paul, I need help. What do I need to do? That's training, and referring them to our partners that are out there. That's what they do it's the best step for us.
Now, Ed, I will get you that information from Paul. So I don't want you to think that you're not going to get it. You will get that. But I appreciate that, Paul. There are a lot of people that shoot from the hip.
Yep.
And you're not that guy.
No, and I'll actually send you a study. We have a study on that. So this is our, with sky high wholesale prices. How are we doing on our retail prices? I think we are what I call max pricing tolerance. This data we look at here, we get from This data is from our retail listings. This is a sample size of about 2 million customers.
Yeah.
And you could see where they see the green line. We had a slight bump up in retail prices, not much, in retail listing volume. So that tells us that we had, getting ready for tax season, we were able to satisfy it. And our max pricing tolerance was also still the same, meaning that we were not at the point where consumers are walking away from not trying to buy that car. Make sense?
Yeah.
Right.
I've seen it personally.
Yeah. So they're actually still trying to buy their vehicle. So I think at that point, our max pricing tolerance and our inventory levels shows us that we're right in line with what the market's asking for. I think that if we don't take advantage of really diving into the training for the transition from a seller's market to a buyer's market, that we might be missing out on opportunities. And that buyer's market also relates to service as well.
Now, a lot of cars, speaking of the buyer's market and all these repos, there's a lot of stuff that goes through that's no sale.
Right.
That doesn't sell at the auction. And that's got to affect the price. So the dealers bought the car for this much money. Bought the car for this much money. Now the markets, there are some markets where yes, they're still getting all the wood and more, but there are those markets where they're not, and the cars aren't selling. And just
Right.
because I bought it here, it's like the mentality of a homeowner. Oh, I want to sell it for what I have into the car when the market drops. Well, no, that's not how it works. You sell it for what the market says it's worth. So I've seen a lot of private party sales. I've seen vehicles you see reduced. 42,000 was what they were asking. Now they're asking 40. You can get yourself a decent Harley Davidson used for as little as $5,000. Where you wouldn't see that before.
Nope.
So this is coming, and it may not be at your store today, and it might not be tomorrow, but it's coming soon because the rest of the market, it's already starting with. I want to get to just a couple more comments here. Vernon Sword says technician training and experience is vital, and there really is a shortage of technicians, in my opinion. Vernon, you want to go back to the show I did with Ed Chipolowski about that, and there's some eye-opening information there. There's not as short as you would think. On our morning SDL call, which is Service Drive Live, we also talked about the technician shortage, and for some stores there is no shortage. There's a couple of guys that they have more technicians than they have bays for. Now, why is that? It's how they approach that business. People want to work there. Vernon says a lot of untrained techs in the market. You know what? That's always been the case. No question. But there's enough good guys and gals out there that we're just not capturing. We need to look at that whole strategy because that's another show unto itself that we did. Steve Chesson says, when I see people in service lounge, I send my BDC girls to schmooze. That's a smart plan right there.
It is.
Schmoozing with the customer is what makes them feel special, what makes them want to come back. And Mike Vogel says, customer satisfaction is good, customer retention is better, customer advocates is best. 1,000%. There's no better advertising than word of mouth. And Vernon Sword says repos. Yeah, lots of repos. Now, look, if I've got a loan and I default on that loan, isn't that dealer party to some of that damage?
If it's within their consignment agreement, some are 3 months and some are 6 and some are 9. Depends on their lender relationship that they have. It can be quite tough. I remember 2009, I had a Nissan store dealer. He said, dude, I just had to sign for like 43 vehicles.
It's a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Because he fell asleep and let his F&I manager run roughshod on his customers.
And here's the problem. You have to, no matter how high up in the chain you are, you have to have your hand on the ball at all times, because that guy or gal will just leave and go start somewhere else. He leaving you holding the bag. And
Yeah,
what
we
do
don't
you
have a
say,
blacklist,
cars?
right? We don't have a blacklist either, right? So if that dealer, when that guy left or that gal left, you're right, went down the road, went to a different city or different state, and got
Nobody
into
cares.
doing it again, did it again.
Yeah, nobody cares. And 40 cars then today, Ty, transporters. How many less transporters are there today than 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Right now, I just had a phone call for this show today. We found a guy through our ATI, the car shipping business channel. We found Constantine, who created all car haulers. He's had it for over 10 years. So I got a hold of Constantine today just for the show. Hey, Constantine, I need to know how many carriers, car hauler guys, were there 2019? His number is 15,000-ish.
Yeah.
What is it today? Around 9.
9,000?
Yeah.
Wow. That's what, 40%?
2 years. So it gets better, right? So you guys, so this is why I love, I'm just sitting here just soaking in. I'm like a sponge when I hang around you car guys, right? Because I mean, you're talking real life stuff, and it's just like, okay, this affects me. What everything Paul Machine's saying, Paul, believe it or not, as a transport guy, pay attention to these guys. Exactly. So you're short, what is that? 5,000 carriers-ish?
6,000 carriers.
Okay, it gets better, Paul Meijer. Traditionally, I've been in trucking for 20 plus years, almost 22. Traditionally, the transport guys always say for every guy that goes out, there's another 5 or 10 that come right behind him. Have you heard that? Mm-hmm. Like in any business? I mean, so car hauling that's real numbers. One guy goes out, 5 more are right behind him. It's not happening. So part of what this Constantine, all car haulers, does is he keeps track of new entries and the ones that are going out, right? The new entries are down so significant that he hasn't even had to do anything for the past 3 months. I mean, like literally, he doesn't do anything because there's nobody coming in for the car hauling. So I look at this from the perspective of follow the money. It was Rush Limbaugh, follow the money. So who's the bank here that's making the loans to the cars that are getting repoed? I don't care if they're making bad decisions or good decisions. I do know this about those people, whoever they are. They want their money turning really fast, right? They do. Yeah. And the only reason I know that, not even being a car guy, not being a finance guy, not being a bank, not being a lender, not being an F&I guy, not being a service drive guy, the only reason I know that is because I would get these phone calls during the day where like that. I didn't hit the mute button.
What was that, Paul? What was that?
And I'm like, what is this? I don't understand. So maturing, age, time, and just simply listening and asking questions, I figured out these people want these cars at the auction, detailed and in the lane like that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so part of that process, and this is crazy, Paul Machine, because we have Brianna Cox. She's the repo queen. We bring her in on our show a lot. She could probably point you to that statistic you're looking for. But, and I can get you her info later. My concern is, what are the financial institutions going to do when they pick up the phone to the broker guy, to the dealer, whoever's trying to run the show, and say, I have 5,000 cars at 4,000 repo yards. I need you to hurry up and get them to the auction so I can turn my money. So the broker guy's, yeah, I got it. No problem. Great rate. Deal. Done. All right. Broker guy's got a lot of work to do now because he can't find anybody to move it.
40% down, man. 40%.
And in a normal year, it's 5,000 repos a day. In a normal year.
Yeah.
I mean, 40% down at 5,000 repos a day. That's a big hit to you already.
Yeah. So my concern, I mean, transporting, and this is what I tell people on the show too, because I have new guys that call in, which, by the way, that's really reduced. Like I used to get probably a call a day. Hey, I want to be a car hauler. Ty, how do I be a car hauler? It's maybe one a week now, right? No joke. And I'm not making any money off these. It's not my revenue, but I keep an eye on that. That's a KPI for me, what's going on in the industry. Yeah. So as we talk to these, okay, I just did a clubhouse before I came on this show where we have real carriers hauling real cars. Texas, Mesquite. There's a railhead, I believe that's what he said, a planter railhead, I can't remember. It's got a combination of EV and ICE, okay? And it also has Tesla on the other part. The Tesla cars are going out so fast, nobody can even keep up with them. They're just gone, go. Fall over here to this other side where you have your Ford and your GMs and nobody's moving them. They're just sitting there. So the questions I have, what year are those cars that are just sitting there? Driver that's on the parking lot every day. There are 2022s and it's packed. And we can't find anybody to move them. This guy is literally telling me this today, Clubhouse.
Is it because of the rate? They're not being paid?
No, that's what's even more bizarre. The rate is amazing. The rate has never been that good. I mean, these guys are moving cars at like 120, 150 miles. Just short, that's right up my alley. Short mile, long dollar. Go dump it and turn around and just keep going. Bang, bang, bang. You know the lane, you know the people. Things work a lot smoother when you're doing it like this. The rate for that, this guy told me, is like right around $400 a car. I've never seen that in my life. Ever.
But Ty, how can that be? I mean, think about it. The new guy or gal getting into the transport business today, they're buying at top dollar, right? Whether they're buying a Stinger or a 3-car hauler, whatever, they're buying at top dollar.
Yeah.
The fuel costs through the roof. How are they even able to make it and then cut the price?
They're gone in 3 months, especially today's market. I used to say 3 to 6 months. And before COVID, I used to say 3 to 12. Today, it's 3 or less because there's all kinds of problems. Yeah, the fuel is ridiculous. The equipment's ridiculous. But where it gets more ridiculous is the insurance. Now, the little story I just told you about, that's new cars. Okay, slide back over to the used cars. The rates are not high at all. They're terrible, right? I mean, absolutely, they're getting worse. So now you've got increase in the fuel. Insurance is doubling for these guys every day.
That's crazy.
You know what double is, by the way, for your little 1 truck and your little 1 3-car, 4-car trailer? It's about $4,000 a month now.
I was going to say 5, but 4, that's a lot of money.
Well, no, two used to be ridiculous. I mean, 12 to 1,500 is what it really needs to be, but now we're up there like $4,000 for a guy who has no business plan, has no strategy, has no idea what a dealership, an auction is, or F&I, nothing. I just know that I watched a video on YouTube and I know that I can haul cars and I can make money. That's what the guy on the video said.
Wow.
That's terrible. It's not true. So back to my major concern. My major concern is and I shouldn't say concern. That's not fair. Actually, let me spin it this way. Here it is. I see a lot of hope. I see a lot of optimism. And here's why. Because there are people, okay, Carvana. What did Carvana just buy? They bought Odessa. Okay. Do they want to own an auction? I don't know. But what do they say they need? They say, well, we need recon and we need hubs. We need space. We need land. Isn't that what they said?
Yep.
Okay. So they buy cars and they sell cars and they move cars. You guys know they have their own transport company with Stingers, like 9 at a time.
Yeah.
Okay.
They need more. They need more now.
Oh, they got them. They're ordering like crazy. I got off the phone the other day. They've guess what they need now more than anything? Truck drivers. They need drivers like desperate. So anyway, we're going to have them come on the show hopefully and talk to us more about their need for drivers. And here's the thing, love them or hate them, I don't care. Here's what I know after 20 plus years in transporting dealer cars, I promise you this. People hate my guts. They hate me. Look at this.
Impossible, Ty.
They don't like me.
Who could not like you, bro?
Whatever reason.
Come on. No freaking way. No way.
But when it comes down to I just want my car, they know who to call. They call Ty. So I see the opportunity for like a Carvana to really capitalize on transportation. And actually, if anybody wants to talk about it, you can make money in transportation. It treated me very, very well for a long time. I mean, you made a lot of money, right? But you do it right. So the next, okay, so I'm looking at clues, KPI. I'm looking at anything I can find to find out where's transportation going, okay? The next one that caught my eye was Lithia. Paul Meijer. How many stores does Lithia own right now?
They're on the move. Less than they're going to own tomorrow.
The last number I saw was 500. Is that fair, Paul Machine?
I can't confirm that. They've got a lot of rooftops.
Okay. Well, I don't want to just be throwing stupid numbers out, but is it more than 200? Is that fair, safe? I don't want to say something I'm not supposed to say. But they have a lot. Point is, here's where I'm going. Where are those stores? Are they in the rural America or are they in the metro America? Rural. Do you think their Lithia stores are in the rural?
They're more out west.
Okay. My theory is that these big conglomerates, I don't know what you call it, but when they come in and they just start buying everything, is they're looking at the Amazon experience. So I heard Paul Meijer talk about the experience in the service department. You look at anybody that's alive today, they're either looking at their phone or waiting for the package to be dropped off, right? So from a car perspective, we'll put a pause on the repos and the financial economic meltdown we're about to experience. We'll just put all that to the side for a second. Let's pretend it's normal life and we want to make car delivery like Amazon. The best way to do that is to have hubs. I've said this for a long time. If you have a Ford car, if you're what we call a POV, personally owned vehicle, and you're wanting to send your Ford to your kids in college in Arizona from Missouri, take it to the Ford store. The Ford guy will handle it, right? Gone. Makes perfect sense to me. It gives the Ford dealership opportunity to engage with a potential customer or not a potential customer. I don't know. Who cares? I'm not a car guy, sales guy anyway. But there's a contact, a point of contact. So now we can move it to the next Ford store in Arizona. There's plenty of Ford stores everywhere all over the planet, right? Or at least in America. So whatever Carvana is doing with the Odessas, I think actually has a lot of potential, a lot of value to getting cars delivered, especially for, in my opinion, dealers. Because as you look at the Amazon experience, what are you seeing? There's DC, they call them DCs, I believe that's right. Is that right?
Yeah.
DC distribution center. You drive down to Florida, one of those highways, and it's like every other exit. You see this massive, massive building going up. And what is that? Oh, it's a DC. We just saw 5 down the road. Yeah, they need another one. So I don't know what they're going to do. But I do think there's a lot of opportunity. I think if you're a transport guy, you really need to be paying attention to these guys because the reality of it is things are shifting, right? I'm always trying to connect my brain with what Paul Machine and his data, his Black Book data, which is just simply amazing. And you listen to these guys, dealers are buying cars out of driveways, out of the service lane. Paul Meijer says it. Paul Machine, first guy I heard say it, I don't know, over a year ago. I laughed. I think I laughed out loud.
You did 2 years ago. 2 years ago,
like, what?
You and Jay, like, what? You're crazy. Never happened.
You're nuts. Never going to happen. Well, one of the advantages is I don't have to deal with the transport guy, right? I can just put people in a car and drive it. Okay, one more side note here. Lithia owns a company called DriveAway. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Do you know what they do? They deliver cars all day long. They pick up cars and drop cars off all day long, and they drive them, I guess. Maybe they transport them. But the guy who was in that, do you know who's running that? His name's Anthony Coons. Great guy. I met him in Phoenix when he was with Drive Time. He went from Drive Time to RPM. RPM's a big broker, and they got into the car world. Now he's with Lithia over at DriveAway. So you start watching these things, people you've known for years, and you didn't know he was going to end up over there. There's Anthony Coons in charge of the Lithia/DriveAway. What are they doing?
But DriveAway is pre-owned cars as well.
Yeah.
They buy and sell cars, and it's Lithia's CarMax version.
Right. So what I'm saying is, if I'm a dealership and I'm in a metro area, I'm assuming, you guys are the car guys, but I'm assuming my bucket to get cars out of driveways and the service is much greater than if I'm in a rural town.
Absolutely.
Right.
Okay, so then if I'm listening to Jason Rice, if I'm listening to Paul Machin, if I'm Mike Buchanan, by the way, Mike Buchanan, I mean, what did he say? Paul Meijer, the auctions are down 8% right now. Is that right, Paul Machin?
Yes. Yes.
So that puts him at a 60% sale?
Right. Actually, 66%.
66%. So I was at an auction just the other day up in Kansas City. I run in, how's the sell this week? Oh gosh, it was like 62%. Everybody's crying, everybody's rolling on the ground, tears just, I'm like, guys, what was it before 2020? What was it? Oh, yeah. So you're right, Paul Machin, when you're talking about dealerships and salespeople got spoiled. What do you think about the auctions, the auction sales reps? How are they doing right now? They're having to kick it back in as well. So where I'm going is I'm just saying this. I don't know. I don't want to be gloom and doom. I hate that idea. I don't want any of that. No thanks. I do believe we do have a real problem, and I do believe there is a shortage. What's the solution? Well, I start thinking about like ACV, our buddies over there. What are they going to do? Maybe they could work out a deal with just like that video Paul Meijer sent, which was this guy's buddy's repo yard is buying football fields to put all of his repos in. Okay, now the cars can maybe stay here. I maybe don't have to deal with the transport guy to try to make the appointment, get him to be here on time, get him to do the inspection report, the condition report, and hope that he makes it to the auction. Maybe we could get ACV to come into the repo yards. I don't know. There is going to be a problem. How it's going to be fixed, I have no idea. But I think you're going to be short carriers.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to get to a couple of comments. Let's see here. LinkedIn user said, yes, loud and clear. So I think he's got some good ideas on how to improve the service. Mike Vogel says the car business is like the real estate business. When times are good, they're fat and lazy. When times are lean, tough, all of a sudden they're scrambling. They both should always be hustling. It's like that end of the month thing. Every day should be an end of the month. Every day you should close out your ROs. It shouldn't all wait till the end. Vernon Sword says correct, and same problem in parts. Depending on where you are and the economy of that area will determine your faster moving parts. 100%. Also, diesel fuel cost. Yes, diesel fuel cost is a lot higher than gas. So I can understand the 90-day wonders in the trucking business. And from what I hear from Ty, it sounds like the future, or at least the immediate future, isn't so much in single owner operators because of the costs involved. It's more in being a driver as an employee for a car company like Carvana or some of these bigger companies, no?
It might be a good opportunity right there, yes.
Yeah, so Carvana, Ty, just released that they're doing a Carvana marketplace where dealers anywhere can sign up to list their inventory through Carvana marketplace. So you'll need That's a brilliant idea, by the way. They get over.
Talk about the fox in the hen house
a month through their network.
I'm just telling you, I've got to spend a little bit of time with some guys up in the top level over there at corporate. One guy, Scott Wood, super cool guy, by the way. Yeah. So I got to go hang out with him at corporate, and just those again. I'm not here to take sides, but I'm just telling you that they are doing something, right? And
Can't argue that.
If you're not paying attention, you're probably going to get ran over. And that's the beautiful part. I really think there are what we might call dealer group that is paying attention, that is hedging the bet, that is prepared for, okay, if they're going to do that, I can do this, And I don't know. I mean, honestly, my goal in life is for everybody to get along. I mean, let's just work. If Carvana's figured it out, okay, let's jump on board. Let's serve the customer, which is the dealer. The dealer wants one thing, which is his car on time, no damage. We can make that happen for you guys. And then the more we do that, a better job, the more you get your cars, the faster you get them, the better you sell them. It's the way it works. I'm sorry. I've done it a long time, but it works.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at in the whole thing. I know. You're losing them left and right.
Mike Fisher says dealers are greedy. That makes short-term thinkers. There are enough that are, there are plenty that aren't, but I would agree with there are a lot that are. Dale Novotniak says, Ty, your perspective is refreshing. Can't wait to talk. Are you connected with Dale?
Well, here's what I do on ATI, the Car Shipping Business Channel. I say 417-483-2764.
Man,
Just
that
call
old
me.
school phone call thing still works, huh, man?
Well, that's what happens when you're a crusty old truck driver.
Vernon Sword says, Ty, how has the price of diesel affected transportation? I think you answered that, right?
Yeah, it killed it. Yeah.
Says
It's
that's
hurting.
fair.
Hurting a lot of people.
Mike
think,
Vogel. Oh, sorry. Mike
was gonna
Vogel
say-
says there's approximately 300 Lithia stores today, but that's all subject to change tomorrow.
Yeah.
Vernon Sword says check 278 stores. So it's in the 300 range for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't sure. I read something, but it's still a lot. And again, I mean, okay, if it's 200, that's a lot of stores in the United States that you could put in a metro area or even a rural. But if you're looking at it from the spoken hub and people want their stuff, Paul, both of you guys, this really happened in my life. I used to get in trouble all the time from the car dealer because we would drive the car from the auction to the local McDonald's or Wendy's, whatever it was. Kansas City, Missouri, from Manheim to the little Wendy's or Waffle House was probably maybe 3 miles one way. So 6 miles total. Hey, Ty, how come this car has 6 miles on it? I just took it and went down to the Waffle House and got, well, you just went over, it had 99,994,000 miles on it. You just put it at 100,000 and cost me about $5,000. How do you want to deal with that? Like I would have those phone calls, right?
Oh, man.
Today, it doesn't matter. It blows my mind how every dealer is just get it here. I don't care if you got to drive. I don't care if it goes over 100,000 miles. And I mean, I'm sure it's times have changed. I'm just old, but I do. When you start seeing that and knowing what I know from my past, looking at comparing it to what we're dealing with today, when dealers are like, I just please get me the car. There we go. Now we're talking, drive it, get it there, get it to the even home delivery, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I can just keep going for days.
That's all right.
Well, guys, thank you very much. We covered a lot of stuff here. I hope this has been eye-opening for some. Look at the data, because the data doesn't lie. The data is apolitical. The data doesn't care who you are, what you think, what you believe. The data is the history of what happened. And when you have a company like Black Book that's got data across the enterprise, you have all of the numbers, right? It's like going to buy lotto and having all the numbers before they call them. So thank you very much for being on the show. Thank you in the audience for tuning in and supporting the show. If you see value in what you saw tonight, please share it with your network. If there's one person you help, then you've done a good thing. And if you're like me and a lot of other people, you always remember what you forgot to ask when you had the opportunity to do so. The great thing about the internet is that it lives on forever, long beyond our lifespans. So if there's something you forgot, either reach out to one, two, or three of us. If you're not connected with these gentlemen or myself, send a connection request and or put the comment or question in the chat, and we'll be happy to answer for you. So that's it for tonight. We've gone over, but hey, we own the network, so it doesn't really matter, does it?
That's right. You guys
Thanks, guys.
Good to see you both. Good to see you both.
Good to see you. Have a good one.
Awesome next week, a safe one and productive.
Absolutely.
Thank you for tuning in, and see you next week on Sunday Night Live.